Not Your Average Josh, back here for the first time in a while for a new movie review. This is the new movie coming out called Werewolves, starring Frank Grillo. I saw this movie last Thursday at a premiere screening, and I was going in with some pretty high hopes for just a fun little movie with some nice werewolf carnage, maybe some gore in there, and you do get plenty of that, but I also do have some other thoughts on this movie as well, so let's go ahead and get into them. If you are unaware, this movie is about two scientists who try to stop a mutation that turns people into werewolves after being touched by a supermoon the year before. And that is pretty much a good, accurate description of what this movie is. As I said, I wasn't hoping for the best with this movie. I hadn't heard really any strong positive or strong negative remarks with this movie so far. I was again, just hoping it was going to be a fun time at the movies, and you do get that. I'll go ahead and get the positives out of the way here early. I think Frank Grillo is pretty damn good in this movie. I think he really does fit as a, I guess, B-movie action star, if you will. I usually like him in anything he pops up in. I'm actually watching Creature Commandos, the new animated DC show, the first thing in the DCU, the whole new James Gunn iteration of DC and all that's going on. So I'm really enjoying that show, and he's also doing a good job as kind of one of the leads of that group of Creature Commandos in that show. And he really does pull off that action star prowess in this. He has the physicality. He has enough of that kind of charming humor there that you can really latch on to him as your main lead in this. I do think this movie is having fun with the premise here, and I do really enjoy a good werewolf movie, and the fact you got this whole idea of a supermoon. They definitely play into this kind of Purge style of werewolf movie where you have this one night where everything goes crazy and emergency vehicles cannot be contacted. They really go into that. Not too much in this, but it's definitely ever present in this movie throughout, and I really did enjoy that for the most part. I didn't think they went too far with it. There was a couple of times where I was like, okay, let's just leave it there. Don't go too far over the line to where I feel like we're completely ripping off those movies or anything like that. And of course, Frank Grillo being in one of the Purge movies, it does kind of lend itself to that as well. This movie was directed by Stephen C. Miller, I believe I'm getting his name right. I'm not too familiar with any of his work. I thought he did a fine job with the directing overall with this movie. My main issues lie in the writing, which I will definitely get into, but I think, the color palette of this movie is a very dark movie, a lot of it taking place at nighttime. You're dealing with a lot of stuff going on, this like scientific lab at first, and then really mainly this one house, and then some parts of the streets. There's not really a lot of locations in this movie, and I think they do get a pretty fair amount of fun and entertainment out of the spots they do shoot at here, and there is even a few times where there was some unique ways where they were shooting the film. I don't know if anyone else had mentioned this already, but there'd be like a few shots where they did something with the lens or the lighting and whatever shots they were having, where there would just be like this colorful line across the screen, like all the way across, like blue colorful line. There was some cool stuff with the lighting early on in the movie, coming in through the windows with the sun kind of shining in, that just looked a little different than I'm used to seeing on just regular shots of the sunlight coming through a window. So those cool little creative things they were kind of doing to keep your interest in some of the more slower scenes in the beginning. And that's also one thing for me, the first act of this movie was the best part of this movie. Like, if the first act had stayed consistent throughout the rest of this movie, this could have been definitely a higher rated movie for me. Unfortunately, it does tend to start to peter off again, as I had already kind of mentioned with the writing, which I'll get a little more into, but I thought they did set a really good groundwork at the beginning of this movie to get you right into the premise already. I like how they kind of skip past the inciting incident that had already happened, I think a year before, or maybe even before that, where you're already in the middle of all this, and this is another year where this is going to happen again. There's going to be another blood moon. They're just trying to figure out what they can do to stop this. I really enjoyed kind of the urgency they built there with that, and I was pretty on board from the beginning. And as I said, throughout this movie, there is a lot of really good action, gore, just fun to be had with that. There's some really cool shots, a couple memorable shots for me. There was definitely a good mix of CGI with practical effects here that I really did enjoy as well. I feel like they really wanted to have an effort of that in there to give you more of that feel of the 80s, 90s kind of throwback, the way movies used to be made kind of thing. But as I mentioned, I'll kind of go into more of the negatives now. The writing, I guess I'll go ahead and just get into the big one. As I said, I was just really going into this movie looking for some fun. I wasn't expecting the best writing in the world or the most nuanced, creative storytelling where I'm going to be like completely immersed in everything. But they do go in certain directions once you get into the second and third act of this movie, especially with Frank Grillo's character, his sister-in-law, and his niece, who he's taking care of for this movie. They reveal early on that, I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it and you don't want to know, but something happens with the dad where he's not around involved when all this stuff's going on. So he's having to take care of this kind of new family that he's having to be there for, and it's his sister-in-law and his niece. And the actors do as good as they can throughout this whole movie. I don't think anyone's really truly atrocious, but the writing that they're given is just so goofy. Like, they're basically in this house, this one location for most of this movie, and without going into too much spoiler territory or anything, they're having to fight off and defend themselves against the werewolf danger. And basically from the beginning, the sister-in-law was being very standoffish towards Frank Grillo's character. He didn't quite know what was going on with this, but she really seems like from the beginning she just like wants to be very independent, and she's like, no, we can take care of each other here. We don't need you here. But then as soon as shit goes off the rails, Frank Grillo's off doing some mission with the scientific community or military community or whatever, and she's at home, and as soon as any little thing goes off, like, we're already aware, again, this isn't the first night where this shit's starting to go off, like, people are aware of this shit's going to probably happen tonight, and as soon as shit goes off, she's just like freaking out. And it was just from right then on, the writing just kind of went slowly down. Every little thing she would do, she'd be screaming, like talking to the werewolves like they're humans, like, anyone comes in here, I'm gonna fucking shoot you. And it was just over the top, and it just got to the point where I just couldn't ignore it, and it was just kind of grating on my nerves a little bit. It didn't completely ruin my whole experience, but it definitely just took it down so much. And there was just a lot of little things within the writing throughout, even with Frank Grillo's character when he's having to go to this scientific lab where they're trying to find a cure for this, and there were certain things that would happen like every now and then where you're just like, why are they doing this? What is this all about? It got to be a little too much by the third act. And even as you get into the third act of this movie, the movie really ends very abruptly, and it's a little bit like, what? Okay, so I guess everything's cool now with this and that. It's a little just kind of like, wow, okay, that was an experience of a movie as soon as it ends. It's not too long of a movie, so it's not like a drudge to get through or anything like that, but there are times where it's just like, they should have done this a little bit better, or maybe if they had just not done this in this certain way. It was hard to be too attached to any of the characters, and really the main positive I got from this movie was just seeing some nice gore at times, some werewolf carnage, again, very Purge-like. It was definitely fun for that, but I don't know how often I would really jump to go and see this movie again. Overall, it could have been a lot better if the first act, which I thought was really strong, if it had stuck the landing just a little bit more, just even a little bit stuck the landing. It just kind of slowly went downhill, and again, there was still some fun to be had, but they would even try to throw in these little cheesy lines that you would see in 80s movies, and some of them worked, but there was one, and I'm sure if you've seen the trailer, you probably know what it is. It just did not work for me at all. It's just like, it just didn't work. It wasn't like a horrible, egregious thing. It was just kind of like, that's just not it. If you're going to this movie to, again, just for, like I had already mentioned, the carnage, the gore, just seeing some cool werewolf effects, which I think there is some cool stuff to behold in this movie if you're looking for those kind of things. If you are a real stickler with writing, this probably will not be it for you. If you want a little bit more flair with the direction, again, there's a few little creative moments that he has here with some of the ways some of the scenes are shot at the beginning of this movie, and it's always fun to see some werewolves tearing shit up. But overall, not as memorable of an experience as it could have been, I think. But yeah, shout out to Frank Grillo, though. He's the most memorable. He gets the most stuff to do. He is the main character. And he is fun to see in this. So, it wasn't a horrible experience, but it definitely just could have been better. That's pretty much it. I'm going to give Werewolves a 5.5 out of 10. So what do you guys think? Have you seen this movie? Do you not care at all to see it? So what is your thoughts on Werewolves as a whole? Whatever you want to say, leave a comment down below. As I always say, any support for this channel is very much appreciated. Just getting back into doing this on a regular basis. I will be posting definitely a lot more consistently here as we move forward. Hit that like button and the subscribe button as well. I do appreciate all the support. You can also follow me on these various social media platforms I am on as well if you want to offer support there, just see some updates on this channel. I appreciate anyone who is watching this. Be looking forward to more videos very soon. I will talk to y'all later.